The new Dead by Daylight PTB is out, and with it we have a rework to the twins that makes them absurdly strong, a rework to Haddonfield that is kinda great, and a new cosmetic store that is absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about one of the most broken PTBs in Dead by Daylight's history. And let's start with the main change in this PTB, and that is the new twins rework. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, they are insanely strong in the current way they are implemented in the PTB, and I don't understand why they decided to rework them this way. For those that are not aware, Behaviour made it so that Victor spawns no longer latches onto a healthy survivor, and instead it injures them and you only latch onto the survivors when you down them as Victor. This change was made to try and prevent twins from slugging, as they are some of the most slug-friendly killers from the roster. The issue with this is that Victor is now one of the most overpowered killers ever, since you can completely demolish an entire group of survivors in less than a minute, as well as end chases in less than 10 seconds with very little the survivors can do to counter it, because not only is Victor's speed insanely fast and you can increase it with add-ons, Victor's cooldown is super little, which doesn't allow survivors to counter or body block like before. And the worst part is that apparently after a successful hit, you can't even be destroyed by a pallet, similar to the nurse cooldown. Now you might say that technically the Huntress can also injure and down survivors very quick, but the difference here is that the Huntress has a gigantic lullaby as well as various cooldowns to her hatchets and a limit at how many she can carry, so she does get punished if she misses. Whereas with Victor, you have no warning that he's coming until he's very close to you. He has no red stain, meaning it's easier to mind game as a killer, and his attack is way better than a lunge as you can bypass pallets with it. Chucky is considered one of the strongest killers in the game and he is slow. Victor surpasses Chucky in absolutely everything. And the truth be told, I don't understand why they decided to rework the twins. Twins didn't need a buff. They were already one of the strongest killers in the game, and anyone that thinks twins were less than A or high B tier is wrong, because their snowball potential was one of the best in the entire game. The quality of life changes they did in this PTB are amazing, like the smoother transition when changing between Charlotte and Victor, the base kit Toy Sword being able to recall Victor at any time, or the haste when Victor is latched onto a survivor. And let's talk about that, because this feature, at least for me, still incentivizes slugging. The problem from the twins, aside from the vast amount of bugs they have that are still in the PTB, is the walk you had to do with Charlotte in order to pick up a survivor that is far away. That was what incentivized slugging, because if I saw a survivor attempting to heal the downed survivor, I would try to punish them just like I would with any other character. So in a way, her power design just naturally incentivizes slugging, just like you do with Oni and Myers or the Plague's powers. You can still slug in the PTB, and in fact, I still do it because it's simply the best option I have, and giving me extra speed even temporarily, all it does is make me stronger while chasing a survivor meanwhile my victim is slugged. It just looks like no one has playtested this killer, because one match is enough to prove that she is insanely strong and unfun to play against. Some players are saying that Twins is on the level of the nurse, and I have to disagree, as I don't think they break the fundamentals of the game as much as the nurse, but they are undeniable S tier, competing with Spirit and Blight in her current PTB form. It's kinda sad that this is what we got after waiting for so long for the rework they promised years ago. I have no idea what they're going to do, but this cannot go live, so I expect some major changes. My only suggestion would be to go back to the original Twins design, but make their cooldowns smoother just like they are in the PTB, as well as making Toy Sword base kit and allow Victor to be recalled whenever you want, as that is quite a nice change. However, knowing what a previous developer said about the game, they cannot go back and remove all the apparent work they did to the Twins, so we might get a weaker version of the PTB. What Twins needed was their bugs fixed and make them smoother to play, and that's it. And by the way, I don't want to dedicate an entire section to Decisive Strike since I didn't test it myself, but the changes are really weird. For starters, the animation is horrible and it feels crazy that this is something that came out in a video game in 2024. It's completely unprofessional, clunky, and I honestly don't understand how anyone could see this animation and decide to release it in the PTB. Of course, this is the PTB after all, and I hope the final version is more fluid, but if this comes out as is, it might be the most horrible thing I have seen so far. And remember the 5-second stun buff? Well, turns out 2 of those seconds are stuck in the animation, so overall, you get the exact same opportunity to leave as before. And also they added dribbling back. So if you pick up a survivor and immediately hook them or you drop them down, you're able to cancel Decisive Strike just like back in the days. However, the devs are aware of this issue. In terms of Blight changes, I am going to be honest, I personally don't think this will ruin this character as Blight's power design is fundamentally overpowered and you can still get insane hits with 5 rushes. Besides, his add-ons are still busted, so the only problem I have with the hook tech removal is the precedent that this sets, as they might fix some unintended or crazy techs from other survivors and killers. There are many games where unintended mechanics eventually became part of the gameplay, and hook tech was such a part of the Blight's identity for so long that it's really sad seeing it removed, as it does take away part of his skill expression. What is the next part? Removing the Oni's flicks, for example? I don't like the 2 new add-ons and I find them very boring for a very rare, but that's most of what I can say, since the queue times on this PTB were absolutely horrible and I couldn't even playtest it against real people. Let's talk about Haddonfield. I am surprisingly quite happy with the changes done to this map. The map is smaller, which is always a good change, as the gameplay though it was quite boring due to the amount of dead zones that this map had in the past, as well as the gigantic size being quite empty and allowing you to see survivors from afar without any cover. The houses feature less overpowered windows than before, for example in the main house, which got covered by some weird furniture, and also in another random house which is now replaced with a weak pallet loop. There are more holes in houses for killers to try and catch survivors from. I also noticed more lockers further away near the walls of the map, so in a way that's a good small buff to the Dredge, Huntress and the Trickster. And finally, let's talk about the best feature in this PTB by far, and funnily enough, it's the one feature that I am sure many of the investors and Behaviour care about, the Cosmetic Store. It looks amazing and you can finally test various cosmetic combos before purchasing the pieces, which is a change I have wanted for ages and I am sure many of you are happy to see in the game. They are also generous enough to give us a bunch of Oryx cells, which is surprising, and I hope they do this for all of the rest of PTBs so you can try other killers in case you didn't purchase them yourself. You are able to check skins based on collections and even test the Memento Mori in the store along with the survivor and cosmetic of your choice. But of course, since this is the PTB, this feature is still unpolished, as the survivors will not have any facial expressions in the Mori, and you can also spam the button in order to break this feature completely. They also added weekly gifts, which is a nice addition that will help new players especially, and the chance to purchase bundles which include old charms. And this is something I have never expected to see, and I am so happy that they are finally adding charms as part of the store, as this takes away one of the big components of fear of missing out, since you were unable to get charms outside of the Rift. Overall, I can tell that this store will earn them more revenue due to how clean it is, and the discounts are very nice, and they will incentivize more people to purchase more skins thanks to the discounts. Overall, this is one of the most disappointing and buggiest PTBs the game has ever received. But I have to defend Behaviour in one thing. If you're not aware, the game engine has changed to Unreal Engine 5, and while there are no visible changes in-game in terms of graphics, this is a huge upgrade to the longevity of the game, as it will allow them to do more stuff and have a more up-to-date engine to work with. I am sure that this is the cause of the many bugs that are plaguing the PTB, like the T-poses, broken animations, female vaults being broken again, and I am sure there are many more we will find out later. This is also why you have to re-download the game entirely in order to try this PTB. Hopefully, by the time this patch is released, most of the bugs are fixed, or at the very least the patch is delayed until the bugs are cleared. It's really sad that Behaviour's good patch streak has ended like this, but I am still hopeful for the game. Anyways, let me know what you think, thank you for watching and have a nice day.